Welcome to the vlog in my brand new apartment. And if you cannot tell by the title of this video, this is going to find you exactly when it's meant to find you. And for those who don't know me, I am an online fitness and nutrition coach, as well as someone who's just trying to figure it out along the way. Because at the age of 24, and I feel like this is probably the norm nowadays, most of us are either living with a roommate or we've somehow managed to find our ways into living on our own. And a lot of things about growth has been extremely scary for the last 4 or 5 years. Over the last 5 years of my life, pretty big things have happened in my life of which, and knowing what I know now, I know that I am a very ambitious individual, but also, for the lack of better terms, despite being extremely good at taking care of my health, I would sometimes like to consider and call myself out for someone being lazy, despite the ambition. Because this is not something that you simply can just do if you are coming from somebody who always wants to make a decision out of certainty. The fact of the matter is, a lot of things in life are uncertain. We do not know 100% for sure whether or not things that we do, the things that we act on to a day-to-day basis, that those decisions will pan out to have the results that we want. And there's always that fundamental fear of the outcome, the fundamental fear of failing, the fundamental fear of thinking that, what if we don't make it? And that's the mind of the overthinker. Because the first time I ever made the biggest decision before moving to my brand new apartment was literally signing up my coach and not being financially independent at the time. And I think for some people are actually fortunate to be able to have their parents be able to have their kid sign up for a coach and be perfectly okay with it. My parents weren't. They saw that as an absolute fucking steal for which, hey, and you're not financially independent, and you're now investing into some stranger for the fact that you can literally just go to the gym and then go on about your day. And from a surface level perspective, of which knowing that my parents' stance was that they need to save, and not invest any money into their health or invest anything back into themselves, I can definitely understand why. Now, was it something that I would say was the smartest thing or the best thing I could have done within a specific context? Maybe not, but I would still be forever grateful, because the moment that I started to take steps into trying to become more financially independent and start to carve my own path and start unlearning the things that I wasn't happy about with my upbringing, despite how on paper it was quite good, I knew there was something more that I am worth capable of doing. It was scary. When I made the move from my hometown to Buffalo, I honestly didn't know whether or not I was able to go into fundamentally make it. And at the time, words were said between my parents and I didn't know that whether or not I would be able to ever see them again, because this was a massive step in which, honestly, I thought would have pretty much broken up the entire family. And looking back, I am glad that I actually made the leap that I did, because of all the lessons that was able to propel me into the version of myself that you see today, that couldn't have been done unless I actually made that leap. Now, am I exactly where I want to be right now? I would say yeah, but looking back at the time of which I wanted to make that change the environment, change the individuals I was surrounded by, because as much as people want to say, including myself, that the environment that you were able to put yourself in is going to dictate your growth, that is very much true. And I think I'd say for 80% of that was true. I was no longer being surrounded by my parents' limitations, but I eventually got surrounded by my friends' limitations, of which they essentially had that same kind of perspective and that same outlook on life. And that didn't help. So on top of that, when I made that move, I was thinking that because I am now in a brand new place and I'm finally taking a stand for myself, that all of my problems, all of the limiting beliefs, all the different things and expectations I've had about myself would simply be met because I can finally do things on my own terms. But when I actually really got to experience that first year of not going back home as my main home for the entirety of my life, I realized that nothing about changing your environment changes you when you are only looking to escape and not seek internal growth. And for any individual's context, your upbringing is going to look different from mine, and no one's upbringing is going to ever look the same. And that was a sobering realization when I went through with my coach and at the time with his existing team, that the growth, the self-development, the personal development, that entire journey, that unveiled a lot of different expectations and all the different limiting beliefs I've had, because those were things that I grew up with. And breaking out of that was going to be difficult because I didn't understand how to express a lot of things emotionally or understand the depth of my subconscious, because I've learned throughout my entire time of growing up that my needs, my thoughts, my feelings, my perception of the world to my parents and to my peers at the time did not matter, because I was expected to essentially give into a specific framework of life, do things within everybody else's expectations and not my own, and my expectations did not matter. And when you've been given that for the entirety of your life up to that point, where your whole life has literally been meant to survive and to just people please and not step on anybody's toes and try to fit into everybody's mold, that you eventually start losing yourself in a which that you do not understand who you are. That was an extremely painful experience. And this is not a means to give you the excuse to not change who you are, because for most of us, we understand that awareness is only the first step, but it is not the only step. It is not your peers, your coworkers, or your friends' responsibility to make the change. The only person that has the power to change your entire life outcome is you. You have the power and the choice and the capability and responsibility to make your life the way you want it to. Because over the last 4 years of personal development, I understood that facing the shit that makes us the most uncomfortable will trigger us. And the reason why we call it growing pains, and the reason why we say that growth is uncomfortable, because it is. We are learning how to stretch our capacity to deal with more, to become more, or even unlearn a lot of the things that we have found to be true, because our reality was formed around everything else that we have been molded into all the way up until we were 18 or 21. And this is something that people don't say about growth, that growth is consistent, uncomfortable, and triggering. And it has to be triggering, and it has to be uncomfortable to some way, shape, or form. Because if you're still sitting still, trying to hold on to who you are right now, when you realize that the next best version of you requires you to let go of who you are in the present time being, the behaviors, the habits, the laziness, if that's how you feel about yourself, it's going to hurt. And perhaps there might be even a bit of shame that may come up, because acknowledging that a better reality can happen for you will hurt your pride and ego for believing that the reality of staying stuck is the reality that you're meant to stay with. And this can be for your health or your wealth or relationships. It literally can be applied for all three. So you have to eventually take the risk. Because if you're not making any specific movement and you're willing to just go on day to day and do nothing but work a 9 to 5 or work a job that the thing that you're working at is just the bare minimum of what you're truly capable of, start taking incremental steps every single day and do it consistently. Because by standing still in a world that constantly moves, sitting still means that you're just going to fall behind. So you have to learn how to let go. Before I end off the vlog, I did finish my mentor's book, and there's a quote towards the end of it that I want to quote from him, is that you must surrender to the principle that you are exactly where you are supposed to be always. This is fate. Free will is how long you choose to stay there. Your fate will follow you as long as you begin to tap into your highest self and push upwards for the life you were born to live. You have to be fearless while walking your own path instead of worrying about what everyone else's path looks like. This is your life. This is your path. Whether you choose to stay where you are is your decision. Not your parents, not your peers, not your past. Your past only shaped you into the version of who you are today. But it is your choice to choose whether or not you let that past be who you are in the present. And if you made it this far, I want to thank you for watching. If you haven't, hit the like button if this video was actually helpful for you. This was mostly a big rant session, but this is the best way I know how to actually provide a little bit of value, especially when it comes to essentially putting out my overall growth and my overall development into my life. Because this is a brand new beginning. This is scary. I've bet essentially every single thing I have on myself to literally make this jump So I'm not standing still. What you see right here, right now in my apartment is the culmination of my decision to not stay stuck with my past. The past has taught me lessons. It is my job to move forward and keep moving forward despite not knowing the certainty of the future. With that said, peace out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.